Okay, we are live. We're live with this special edition of Hi-Fi's AMAs as we talk about the token swap and our protocol deployment on mainnet. So let me just give everyone one moment to show up, and and then we'll jump into all the questions. I'll be taking questions both from the chat on YouTube as well as in our Discord channel AMA questions. So get everything in there. We have a strong audience in South Korea. So welcome everybody from Korea. Our team is working to make sure we get all of your comments and questions translated and over to me so that everybody has a chance to be heard, understood, and be able to be informed as we take on this exciting opportunity for the hi-fi community. So we'll wait one more minute and then we'll jump into it. Okay, let's get started. Before we jump into specific questions, let's just give everybody a high-level overview of exactly what's going on and make sure we're all on the same page. So we are approaching the official launch of the Hi-Fi DAO, and this is exciting for many reasons. Most of which is that this takes us further along the spectrum of decentralization and gives us an opportunity to really practice what we preach and take full advantage of decentralization and transform our community into something much bigger than just us. So we have been preparing for some time, and we've got one major announcement that's still coming up later this week. We've been calling it the probably nothing announcement. We're looking forward to that. To clear up any sort of confusion, the Hi-Fi token will be an ERC20 token, exactly like the MFT token. And what that means is it's still going to be live on Ethereum mainnet. And so we're swapping one ERC20 token on Ethereum mainnet for another ERC20 token on Ethereum mainnet. And the reason why this is necessary is we wanted to offer the community a way and a path towards sustainability. So the MFT token had a capped supply, and if we want to do anything around if we wanted to do anything around staking or deploying resources towards any specific causes, then we needed to uncap the supply and give ourselves a foundation to be able to do more interesting things with our token. So now is the opportune time to do this. It also very clearly marks a distinction between operating under the core team kind of leading efforts to now transitioning to the Hi-Fi DAO and token holders controlling the future of the protocol. So some important dates that you should know coming up. Right now, we are in the middle of our governance discussions about the proposal. So what this means is that between now and December 5th is your opportunity to come and weigh in and basically have your voice be heard. The team has worked hard to really create a well put together proposal, and so now is your chance to come look at that, decide if the community likes it, voice your support for it, and then get your tokens off of exchanges so you can actually participate in the token swap and voting uh, for the token swap or not. So, um, so that's the period we're in. If you don't have your tokens off of exchanges, I would say, let's say December 4th. If you don't have your tokens off of exchanges by December 4th, you're likely going to miss the opportunity to vote on this proposal. Um, for those who have voted on this proposal and the previous proposal, you qualify to receive a governance airdrop for just participating. It doesn't matter how you vote in the governance proposals. It just matters that you show up and vote. If you voted in both of this current proposal and the previous one, you'll receive more tokens, and based on how many tokens you vote with, you'll receive pro rata based on that, the amount you vote with. So you can vote in one or both, but that I think should clear up some of the questions we have around the token airdrop. So on December 5th, the voting for the proposal goes live on Snapshot. So we have the governance form, and then we have Snapshot, which is where you'll use your MFT to actually cast your vote. There are basically 3 days in which you have to show up and actually cast your vote. And at the conclusion of those 3 days, on December 8th, the voting period ends, and we will have locked in whether or not we're moving forward with this proposal or not. So, assuming that people vote in favor of this proposal, then the contracts will be deployed on December 9th. And as soon as those contracts are deployed and the front end for the token swap is integrated, we'll post on our social channels that it's live, and there should be pretty clear directions on how to go about swapping your tokens. So that's kind of some like high level stuff. The team is in contact with every major exchange, and the exchanges, in my perspective, are watching to see how the community responds to the proposal. If our community generally likes it and customers of these exchanges are in support of this, I expect that exchanges will support it. That's their business. And so while I will share any sort of confirmation from any of these major exchanges as soon as we receive it. But we have put on notice all the exchanges. We gave them a sneak peek at the proposal before it actually went live. And now that it is live, we're waiting for both the collecting feedback from the community, and then I think the exchanges will respond from there. The current state of the audits: there are 2 outstanding audits, and we have received both audits from QuantStamp. We received our initial audit report, and we are doing a final iteration, and we're waiting to hear back to receive the final audit report from QuantStamp. So the 2 audits cover 2 distinct parts of the smart contracts that are going live. First one is about the protocol itself. Before we go to mainnet, we wanted to take what changes had happened between now and the last time that the protocol was deployed. We wanted those changes fully audited. There are some slight changes that introduce some conveniences and some capital efficiencies for users of the protocol, and some minor architectural changes. And so that audit will come back from QuantStamp. We're expecting it shortly. And then the second audit is for the governance contracts and the token contract itself. So the approach we've taken is pretty consistent with how we approach most things. Is we really care about security, and we try and be very specific about the area in which we innovate. So what does that mean? That means we are borrowing battle-tested open source contracts from throughout the crypto space, from some of the best teams out there, and using that as our starting point. So in particular, on our token smart contract and governance, we began with a fork of Compound's Governor Bravo. And from there, integrated it with a token contract that was implemented by Uniswap's ERC20 token contract. Now, one thing that the team has been very deliberate on is we have not wanted to take any unnecessary risk for for the community. And so what we've done is we've made sure that all of the changes that are being introduced and that we're deploying are all very specifically within the scope of existing projects that are supported by the major exchanges that our community uses. So the biggest one being Upbit. If you look at the supported tokens on Upbit, we are not introducing anything special, new, or outside of the scope that of tokens that Upbit already supports. And so we wanted to set ourselves up for success here. We are, you know, it, excited to have these exchanges continue to partner with our community and hope that they will choose to support us. And so we'll work through their processes. And one of our hopes is that we're able to do all of this before people start to take time off for the Christmas holidays and potentially put this back. So that's why we've really been pushing hard right now, is because this gives exchanges enough time to look at our audits, look at our smart contracts, and recognize kind of what work we've done, make sure it's safe, and then choose to support it. The actual token swap contracts itself are very simple. It's you put MFT in, the MFT is then sent to the burn address, and then new Hifi is minted at the 100-to-1 ratio. Let's talk for a second about that ratio. There's been much discussion in our community about which ratio would be right, and we've spent many hours and days thinking about and exploring each of the. I think we did 1 to 10, 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000, and 1 to 10,000. We explored each of those options, and ultimately, here's kind of our approach. We wanted to make the least amount of changes possible, so it doesn't throw anybody off and sort of exaggerate the impact of the ratio change. The ratio that we landed on gives us enough of a change in precision such that we can qualify to have Bitcoin as a pair against the Hifi token. We learned from Binance, the reason they delisted the Bitcoin MFT pair was because the level of precision between the two tokens was so far apart that ultimately between tick marks, you were having 8% difference in the spread on the token price. So this was kind of the material need that we were addressing. And so that's why we ended up going with the 100-to-1 ratio. I know that there are opinions out there. I believe we were pretty thorough in our examination of the alternatives. And so, but please come and voice your concerns or try and present new information. I don't expect that ratio will change, but I do want for everybody to feel considered and be heard. But I'm pretty confident that we have, kind of exhaustively explored the design space around the ratio for the token swap. So, let's start getting to the questions, shall we? I've instructed my team to convert any of the Korean over into the Discord channel for me to be able to know what questions are being asked. So I'm just going to start at the top and bust through these with as much context and information as I can provide, so that you can make an informed decision on this historic community vote. Okay. Will it automatically change my tokens on exchange sites. So each exchange will need to make a decision on supporting the token or not. For exchanges that do decide to support the token swap, I do anticipate that they will automatically exchange them on behalf of their customer base, and we'll work with them to make sure they have access to the tools or help them as needed. I have seen them support similar type of changes in the past, uh, and so I don't anticipate that there would be any reason why they wouldn't support this here. Presumably, if the governance voting does also approve it, and that, these are changes that the community wants. I think that's what they're looking for. Um, but uh, there's always the option to pull your tokens off the exchange into a wallet like Ledger or MetaMask, and that you self custody with, and perform the swap yourself. If one day you discover that you have a whole bunch of MFT on a hidden wallet, no problem. You'll always have the ability to transfer them over to the Hifi token using the deployed smart contracts in our front end. Let's see. The Hifi protocol is audited by QuantStamp. We've used them for some time now, and really value that partnership that we have with the QuantStamp team. They've been wonderful to work with. Okay, this question coming in from longtime community member and the legend Hollywood41.eth. Hollywood asks, how will the protocol earn a profit? Where will that profit go? With this transition to the Hifi DAO, the Hifi DAO is in control of everything. All material matters are managed by the Hifi DAO. And so what the opportunities for profit, basically we have embedded inside of the protocol a fee switch, very much like Uniswap does, where governance can vote to turn on a fee switch, and I believe it can then charge a 5 basis point fee on, basically an origination fee on all serviced debt by the protocol. The idea would then be the protocol would, when they turn on that switch, they would need to choose a destination for those fees to go. And at that point, it's up to the protocol. I imagine if we followed similar patterns to what we see on MakerDAO, what would happen is we would build up a buffer that we use to cover protocol expenses, like our ongoing bill from Chainlink to use their oracles. And we'd build up a buffer, and then whenever that buffer exceeded a certain threshold, the community could then vote to do as they please with that. Maybe they want to burn tokens, existing supply, and reduce it. Maybe they want to go and purchase liquidity for supporting certain markets. It's completely up to governance, and you'll be hearing that a lot from me, because that's the truth. We're shifting the way our community works, and thus why there's this now a separate legal entity, the Hifi DAO, which will contract on a 2-year basis with the core team to provide its services. So that distinction is very important. It helps us operate in the regulatory environment we find ourselves in, and very clearly makes it so that I'm not the one who is calling the shots. We are implementing the wishes of the protocol, and the token holders kind of decide who implements, what resources are available to the people that do certain types of work, and that's what the token swap unlocks. Could you indicate when the vote is taking place exactly? Yeah, December. Let me make sure I get my date exactly right. December 5th is when the voting will go live. You need to have your tokens off of exchanges before December 5th. Okay. Ethereum mainnet seems to have an end on the Polygon side, but the swap will proceed first at the mainnet will be in January next year. So, what this question is referring to is right now our protocol is live on Polygon, the Matic network, and there's an active market that we're supporting. And so we will wait for that market to expire so that those who have liquidity over there have a chance to pull it off, bridge it back to Ethereum, and then come and participate in the Ethereum instance of the protocol. We're only planning to support a single instance of the protocol to keep all of our liquidity pooled together in one place. So we're going to cease supporting the Polygon, and we're going to only support the Ethereum network for the foreseeable future, unless circumstance changed or token holders voted that they wanted an additional market on Polygon. But for now, we're going to focus on Ethereum. And so that's the distinction, is the protocol is being deployed on Ethereum mainnet. I've never participated in voting. So the way voting works is essentially if you have your MFT in a self-custody wallet like MetaMask or Ledger, you'll go to snapshot.org, search for Hifi, and then you'll be able to cast a vote when it goes live on December 5th. It's a pretty simple solution. You're just signing a contract. It doesn't cost you any gas. You will, however, want a little bit of Ethereum on your wallet so that you can send your tokens back to an exchange if that's where you like to keep them. But so that's it's pretty straightforward. And then it's a one MFT equals one vote, and so you can vote with as much or as little MFT as you want. So that's how voting works. We use snapshot.org for the MFT voting. And then with the Hifi token, we're deploying our own governance smart contracts. And so it will work a little bit differently, but we will have all of these resources available to you to explain exactly how to participate on the first Hifi voting when we get there. So next question. Could it be overturned by revoting? So there are certain practical implications of voting for something, deploying resources towards it, and then revoting. And I like to think of this in terms of when you think about making a contract with any other entity, you have what's called a legal consideration. And your consideration essentially becomes your leverage to get what you want. And so if you've already deployed resources towards some entity and then the governance changes its mind and votes against it, essentially governance, it has to be okay with basically taking an L, taking a loss on whatever resources have been deployed. And so there are natural consequences that the community will need to be aware of. And so the best for the best results, decide what you want, do the research up front, and be decisive as a community. Can it be increased by voting later? So I think this is likely referring to the token supply. So the major architectural change for the Hifi token is that governance is in control of the token supply. And so as it deems necessary, it can allocate resources towards other causes. What this practically looks like is this lays the foundation for systems like staking, where we can reward people who lock up their MFT for maybe securing the protocol or underwriting risk for the protocol. And you need to be able to mint tokens in order to create services like this. And so this was a necessary step. Additionally, as we become bigger than just using the core team, there will be an opportunity for allocating resources towards other marketing efforts or towards other partnership type efforts. And so it's essentially turning over the power of the purse to token holders to decide how and where they want to spend resources. This is a very powerful tool for both good and bad. And I think a logical measure that token holders likely will consider is uh, for every dollar of value that they mint into existence, are they capturing or recapturing a more than a dollar's worth of value back to protocol and token holders? And it will be somewhat easy to measure from a high level over a long period of time, and maybe more difficult to measure on shorter period of times. So, but it nonetheless, I think is something that's important for how we define ourselves and how we choose as a community to deploy resources. I anticipate that there's a period of growth where most startups experience where they end up spending more money than they are earning and in order to get product market fit, in order to attract attention, and I think that's a necessary part of growth, and we'll likely see some of that. And you might consider this proposal the beginnings of that, where we are going after growth and there is going to be some amount of risk included with that, and there'll be lessons that we learn. In case of staking, what will be the slashing percentage? This coming from Kelly PR. Kelly, the staking, the team made a very deliberate choice in not implementing staking here. One, we didn't want to do anything cute or fancy that might give exchanges a reason not to support us. Two, we also felt that it was appropriate for the way the team operates is we work behind kind of closed doors, and we like to do these reveals because it builds more anticipation, gives people an event to look forward to, and then we know that we're ready with the deliverables whenever we show up with these announcements. I think the staking approach needs to be something that's developed more in the open. We've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and we're prepared to bring our best ideas to the table for the community to consider. But it seemed inappropriate for us to kind of try to impose a system that is so impactful, um, and potentially misses the mark of the community. So we're gonna. I expect if this is something that governance wants, we'll work out in the open on this, and so that will be a decision for token holders, and so maybe you'll have a role in like helping explore that and put that proposal together. It I expect will be a rewarding process to help build the future of Hi-Fi. Well, voting about the passing of regulations, which is posted in the blog. So, yeah, this vote is essentially we have the governance form that captures kind of the technical changes that are being implemented, and kind of just a very focus on like here's what's changing. Then we have the blog post that tries to provide the context around these changes, why we made these decisions, and kind of like what is at stake. Then there is a light paper that we published that gives just a nice high level summary. So those are the three resources you should look at. And of course, there's discussion happening inside of Discord, and not very much discussion happening on the governance forum. I think because Discord is a more immediate way to kind of discuss thoughts. So that's what I so that's what we're voting on. The Let's talk about the token allocation that's going to the team. So it's not lost on us that this is a large material amount of tokens, and we arrived at this probably more simply than you might imagine. There's no secret magic sauce. It's just kind of a very simple implementation of what we're aware of our costs are, and what we're aware of that the goals of our community are based on feedback that we've received. So a couple of things that we understand from the community sentiment. One is that our team has moved slower than what we have an appetite as a community for. And I agree. I think that's a valid criticism of the core team. And our ability to ship and the speed at which we ship is a function of the resources and employees that we can employ and the talent that we can attract. So we understand, as going into this, that the community has expressed pretty consistently the desire to see a little bit more aggressiveness on our growth and our marketing effort. And then second, we're very aware of the size of our team, our costs, and so we we basically use those as inputs and arrive at this number. If you look at where our market cap is today, around the $50 million mark for our market cap, uh, we are essentially asking for $10 million in resources. One of the things that we're acutely aware of as a token team who has navigated multiple market cycles, our experience taught us that what is $10 million today may not be $10 million tomorrow or next year. And so it's important that we raise sufficient resource such that people can not become concerned if there is a pullback in the markets like we've seen in recent months. We don't want people to go into panic mode and FUD mode and expect that the team is going to need to ask for additional resources. So the objective here was, how can we ask for sufficient resources for a sufficient amount of time to demonstrate whether or not we're making progress towards the goals that the community has expressed to us. And so when we look at our own expenses and what we're spending, the burn rate that we run at for approximately right around a dozen employees is about $2.4 million. That includes per year. That includes salaries, growth, supporting markets, paying for all the expenses associated with our operating costs. So $2.4 million is the current burn rate. So uh, for each year of operation at our current size and our current trajectory, we need about $2.4 million. But as expressed by the community, they want to see more. You want to see more aggressiveness on our growth and on our ability to deliver. And so we want to double the size of our team, which of course is going to double the burn rate. And so $5 million a year is what we'll burn through if we double the size of our team. And so the $10 million will fund us for 2 years. And that's why we've set the expectation for a 2-year contract with the core team, which token holders, at some point before the contract ends, will need to vote on renewing or not, or exploring other options, or, really we'll have a lot of new information by then. And we'll be able to reassess the flexibility that this gives us is the following. And I'll try and just be very transparent in terms of like, at what point does this really benefit both myself, other members of the team, equity holders in Hifi Labs. So the resources go to our marketing and growth efforts and to pay payroll. There's been no material change in anybody's compensation based around this event, whether it's funded or not. We don't operate that way. No one's getting big bonuses. This is not how I operate. Um, but so if we look at the broader market, this is what we're in a position for. If the market pulls back, well, we can maintain our current trajectory because the amount of resources that we receive from token holders will fund our current operation, for 2 years. If, let's say there's a 50% pullback in the market from here, we can still deliver as we are for the next 2 years. So we feel confident that we can, fulfill out the contract of transitioning to a DAO and pursuing at the current trajectory. If the market stays where it is, well, then we can double the size of our team and get more aggressive on our growth and our marketing efforts, have a greater presence around the world at conferences, work to get listed on new exchanges and support those markets. And we're in a position to increase our aggressiveness for growth and fund 2 years worth of growth. Now, if there's this good fortune where tomorrow the bear market ends, and let's say that Hifi is a part of that bull market, and we double the size of our market cap, and everything is up and to the right and exciting, then yes, in that circumstance, members of the team and equity holders of Hifi Labs have the opportunity to profit from this allocation of token. Now, it is reasonable that the token holders would like to position themselves to spend the least amount of their token supply as possible. That's rational. But you might consider that the opportunity for profitability uh, is something that we only share in if the token price is kind of exploding in value and going up if we hit that bull market. And at that point, it creates a certain alignment where we're winning when token holders are winning. And I believe that that is the right place to position ourselves. This provides the type of motivation that I think makes people be motivated, helps us retain our talent, and kind of really adds a lot of excitement for everybody. But we're not we're kind of maintaining the status quo with standard market salaries. The way I negotiate with our employees is all salaries are publicly defensible. You kind of have to come and show me where in the existing um, where in the existing market you're seeing similar types of salaries, and so that we want to run a publicly defensible organization. The so that's kind of how the resource that's how we arrived at our conclusion. um, I I'd be lying if I didn't acknowledge that it does feel a little uncomfortable for me to ask for this amount of money. And it's not lost on me that this is a tremendous risk. It's a tremendous amount of trust that the community is placing in us to continue to operate like we have. But I'm not so naive in terms of operating, in business operations and growth, to understand that it materially changes the value proposition for our team if we don't have this opportunity for upside. There are um, opportunity costs associated with taking any sort of other terms on this deal. And so, as we explored, we asked ourselves internally, can we do it for less? And there are circumstances like a market pullback in which it does not make sense for us to do it for less because we could not fulfill on our end of the obligation for this 2-year contract. And so it kind of became, as I sat and paid attention to my feelings on the matter, here's my honest take is I feel uncomfortable asking for this amount, but I'm also unwilling to do it for less. And I think that that probably is a reasonable place to put us where we're getting a fair deal. Now, everybody is entitled to their perspective here, but yeah, it's a simple calculation based on our current burn rate, and if we're going to sustain these efforts and we want to get more aggressive, it's pretty simple math where we want to double the team, and depending on what the market does, we'll benefit big whenever token holders also benefit big. But other than that, we'll be able to either keep our current trajectory or just be able to get a little bit more aggressive if things stay where they are. So that's the position it puts the team in. So with that, let's jump back over to some of these questions. Have you reviewed whether there's a problem with Korean regulatories regarding the additionally issued Hi-Fi? Nothing we're doing here is different than what we've observed from other communities, and that's how I like to operate here. Is we want to keep our innovation to around our lending protocol, around the types of collateral that we can support, around the liquidity protocol that's coming. And not so much around taking risks around the actual token swap or these types of things. And so we kept things within scope of what the Korean exchanges have already supported from other protocols. And so it might be boring, but it is a safe bet. It gives us the highest probability of success. I think the problem with additional issuance is when it comes by surprise, and we've worked hard to try not to surprise anybody here. There was a post, a week or two ago where I, made sure that there was clarity in the community, and I think for the most part, there are people um, who are just going to combat like any new issuance. But it will be difficult for those type of people to fund any sort of innovation or growth opportunities. And but they're welcome to try and put together a proposal and gain garner support from token holders. Um, Coming from the legend J-Dub himself, DAOs are not easy to function in a fluent, cohesive, and productive manner. How confident are you this DAO can succeed and why? From our most active participants in the community, I see a lot of opportunity and uh, people that I ultimately trust and have come to know over time. And so, like in particular, our guardians, I think, will be a big help and helping us navigate this new way of working. um, but yeah, there is going to be trade-offs with in terms of additional costs that come from operating as a DAO. We intend on being compliant and doing things right, and so yeah, that is a reality. The However, the what we're purchasing with this decision and this trade-off is that we're able to operate in this regulatory climate, and we um, basically can't move forward unless we are decentralized. There's opportunities that we miss unless we decentralize, and so it really is the only option. And so I choose life. I choose to make this thing work, and so that is what it comes down to. It may be a little more clunky, but hopefully with additional resources on the team, we can manage that well and you know invest into community management and tools to make communication very clear and our ability to execute on shorter timeframes. How many governance proposals are to be completed before the airdrop? So just the two that we've had. So basically, if you participate in governance with the MFT token, you will qualify for the airdrop. Hifi token holders govern the protocol. Where do pawn bots and Sablier fit into the day-to-day operation and future planning and perspective? What lies ahead for them both? Sablier is a separate, distinct entity that has its own roadmap, and I won't front run any sort of news for them here in this capacity. And so we have to coordinate with them. And now that we are transitioning to a DAO, we would need to coordinate with them and plan that out. Nothing is going to just happen magically. And so there need to be planning, coordination, cooperation. But the nice thing is, we like each other and we've worked well in the past. And I'm hopeful that we can do some really innovative, cool stuff there. There's initiative that needs to be taken there. They have a distinct roadmap that they're working towards, and that they'll share and publish. And so that's Sablier. In terms of Pondbots is our very own NFT project that we created to be the guinea pig into things like our upcoming liquidity infrastructure layer, the liquid NFTs. And that way, if anything were to go devastatingly wrong, well, we're in control of it. We could just reissue the contract and make everybody right by it. This, essentially, is why Pondbots exist. And so I expect you'll continue to see support for Pondbots from us in the Hifi ecosystem. Let's see. Did we just create an additional 26 million tokens? Yes, there is an additional 26 million tokens in order to fund continued development of the protocol. That's if you want to recruit and retain talent, and so far in my experience, it's best to pay them. As Hifi DAO becomes its own U.S. legal entity, what are the legal implications and responsibility for U.S. and non-U.S. token holders? This is probably something that we'll try to educate everybody on. It is And so I think I'll leave it at that. The actual legal structure, it's a Delaware corporation, or it's an unincorporated nonprofit. Specifically, uh, we took this approach based on some publications made by A16Z and Paradigm, and I think there's additional resources for us to share here. I don't think it really materially impacts. Uh, Kind of I think the responsibilities are to be mindful that we're being compliant with regulators, especially litigious regulators around the world. And so generally, I'll encourage us to make sure what we're doing is legal and that we play by the rules. That's the only way to win at scale. Um, if I keep a token in my private wallet, can I migrate on the 9th? Yes. Will the smart contract for exchange be live right after the vote? Yeah, I expect it 24, 48 hours immediately after the vote finalizes, assuming that QuantStamp has gotten us our final audits. Exchanges need to see these finalized audits. We need to see these finalized audits. That would be the one thing that pushes back the actual token swap. We're not going to deploy these contracts without finalized audits. And so we'll keep everyone up to date. We want to give exchanges ample time to review it and make sure that they're comfortable with it. And so, yeah, there is maybe some uncertainty if those audits didn't show up, but I'll try and keep everybody, exchanges and the community updated on that progress. Um, Again from Hollywood, what does investor lockup expiration schedules look like relative to upcoming dates? So investors are not getting any new tokens. These tokens are purely for the resource of funding the team's payroll and marketing efforts. Uh, no new mint going to investors. Equity holders of Hifi Labs stand to benefit, like I said earlier, if the token swap grows at a greater rate than what our needs are. But I kind of outlined exactly what position this puts us in. If we are benefiting from this, I believe so are token holders. But yeah, no new allocation to any investors. Is the airdrop amount per wallet only, or based on the number of Hifi tokens and wallets? How many qualify? So basically, the airdrop amount is based on how many of the two governance proposals you participated in, uh, and how much you voted with in during each one. We'll process all of the airdrop ourselves, and we'll send it to you, so you don't need to interact with anything. You shouldn't be signing any messages. You shouldn't. Scammers are going to try and like scam you, but we'll process it all and take care of it on our end. So I would expect it mid January by the latest, assuming everything stays on schedule. Who are the investors? What investor involvement? What do they investors like claim to moving forward? Nothing. Most investors have vested and moved on. And there are people like the Hagans who sit on the board of Hifi Labs who are active and avid supporters of us, and who I rely on for mentorship and coaching. They're not involved in the day to day, but they do support us. But they're not like and there's nothing about this proposal that it really benefits any investor. Um, is a staking mechanism in the works? We have lots of ideas to share, but not anything that we wanted to finalize. And so is it's not possible because of legal reasons. Basically, yeah, we wanted it to be something that came from the community organically. We'll participate as members of the community and then and try and bring the best ideas forward. But we want this to be something that the community demonstrates that it really wants, because it will materially change things about our token, and I think it's a good thing, and it's a good challenge for us to explore together as one of the first items of consideration. When will we see collaborative iteration with Saber Stream Lending? I don't know that it's not on our roadmap for this year, and so if anything were to happen there, we need to open up the discussion with them and get that conversation going. We just know that there is uh, a lot of potential there, and we are certainly interested. But we need to give the team on at Saber room to operate on their own roadmap and kind of get on their radar. And so, I uh, visit with Paul, semi frequently, and so. But we need to imagine out what that looks like and why Sabre would want to participate and kind of make a proposal to them and make sure this is something that we see is going to have some good product market fit. So those are kind of where my thoughts jump to immediately. What are the other utilities apart from voting for Hi-Fi? So, in terms of utility, the protocol has baked into it the fee switch, like Uniswap. It could be switched on a week after the token swap. I don't recommend that, but because we're wanting to be in growth and attract lots of people, and so increasing costs to users is not typically a great growth strategy. But it is there nonetheless, and just like Uniswap, token holders will decide when to flip that on. So we have that utility built in, and then and then there's opportunity for kind of a blank slate for whatever type of staking stuff. And I recommend the community look at existing successful solutions that are open source that we could maybe take off the shelf and make slight iterations to. It's not a place that I'm really interested in trying to reinvent the wheel. There's big risks whenever you create these systems that have the ability to mint supply into existence. And so we'll want to get them audited. I don't think it's going to be a quick process. And depending on the scope, it's unclear whether or not that falls within the scope of what our team will be doing that development. It may need to be an additional team that we bring on for that. But these are all things that they're open questions because we want to decide together. Will token merging happen on the same time on all exchanges and private wallets? No. The token swap happens when you go in your private wallet and interface with our front end that we will stand up and that we've prepared. The exchanges, of course, control their own their own users and what they're going to do. There is no deadline for the swap, and so anybody can show up at any time in the future and swap, and that is permitted. You might be uh, there are circumstances in life in which you don't have access for long periods of time to potential wallets. Maybe you've got a work engagement or work contract for a couple of years, and then you left your ledger at home. So we want it to be open to everyone into the future. And exchanges may choose to take a week or two, and so and that's totally okay. Like, we want them to feel confident about their decision to support it. We want that gives us an opportunity for us to demonstrate that the community is all on board. I think the first place I look is around price, and it seems people are generally happy. There are people who don't want this. That's okay. They should be able to express that, and we should be cater to them so long as the discourse remains civil. Um, uh, is formal verification complete, and where the results of the audit be published? We did not pursue formal verification on the entire protocol. It is cost prohibitive, and so governance could choose to fund that, and that would be totally fine, and we would help steer that if that's something that's wanted. But we did get it audited, and the audit will be published as soon as I get it. We'll follow up with QuantStamp today to see kind of where they're at. We were expecting it before today, but this is the way these things go sometimes. Is Hi-Fi thinking about implementing a form of KYC? If so, what does the time look like for that? KYC versus non-KYC customers, impact access and limits of the protocol. I'll just say this. Our ability to growth is a function of our willingness to be compliant with regulators. And so I encourage us to be compliant. I cannot participate in a system that is putting me in a position of risk. There are certain strategies we can take to help mitigate it. One of that is decentralizing and is very clearly establishing Hifi Labs as a service provider of Hifi DAO. But generally speaking, compliance is going to be something that we will face in the coming years, and uh, there are implications of depending on how we choose. There are natural consequences, and so I encourage us to be compliant and as best we can. Um, but there's no new changes. Our protocol operates autonomously. There's no new laws that are saying we have to KYC right now, and so you know nothing really changes for us right now. We're sitting just fine until we get more clarity. Will Hifi go after institutional investors for DeFi? If so, will be a separate platform similar to Aave Pro requiring KYC. Again, a great question for token holders to discuss the opportunity there and to put together a strategy for that customer. It is not in the roadmap that we outlined in our recent business strategy for growth. And so, am I open to it? I'm open to anything that's going to bring material growth, but it is not within scope of what we've outlined. Can you expand on real world assets, more specifically on which industry or niche seems to be the most ripe for tokenization? Otherwise, what drew Hifi to explore the possibility, presumably with fixed rate loans and or tokenization? Look, there are certain parts of my job that are very easy. And pursuing the biggest opportunities in the space and identifying them, I think, is one of the easier roles that I have. So why fixed rate lending? Well, fixed rate lending is where the world parks the vast majority of its debt behind. It is the preferred instrument for debt because it creates predictability for investors and customers alike. And so that's why fixed rate lending. Why real world assets? When you look at the opportunity that blockchain has, blockchain, I think, is going to be a much bigger disruptor of non-blockchain industries than blockchain itself. Bitcoin sometimes feels like a product that is selling MLM, type solutions, but to MLM type people. But you have to be in the MLM in order to have the problems that the MLM solves. And I appreciate Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to zero, but in terms of it's only good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin solves problems you have if Bitcoin is what you have. And so when I look at like the potential for blockchain, it's so much bigger than crypto. And I think that it really, I mean, my thesis from the beginning and why my wife, challenged me to quit my job and go work in blockchain is because, I believe that it's going to impact our world to the same degree the internet has. That's some bold claim. And when you see things like stable coins being the real utility, when you look at market cap and utility, stable coins are dominating. And because people like predictability when it comes to their life savings. People like transparency, it turns out. We're learning and reminded of that every couple of years when centralized opaque institutions lose customer funds or don't do what they represent they were doing with it. And so I want to change the world, and I think we're building the tool set to do that. Stable coins are an important part of that. And so real world assets, it's literally the entire world's assets is the addressable market. That is a no-brainer in terms of pursuing. So, fixed rate lending, that's where the world prefers to park its debt instruments. It certainly has not been what the blockchain world has pursued. They've preferred more passive type tools that you see on the Aave compound so far. But I think we're positioning ourselves for when people kind of come around to what we see in traditional financial markets. They're going to want to borrow against the things they already own. They're not going to want to buy into some new speculative system that potentially they're going to lose their shorts on. And so for broad adoption, these are somewhat trivial things. At least I feel they are to pursue. Yeah, real estate is one of the biggest markets I see in the comments. And in each industry, like real estate comes with additional considerations and regulations. And so to take that on, we need to be able to pay for a lawyer and be able to make sure that we're compliant. And so uh, I'm not going to comment on where hi-fi is going. I'm saving that for our probably nothing announcement that is probably happening this week. And we wanted to make sure we got it out before people vote so that we can have some excitement. I got to leave something for the people to look forward to. So look forward to that. And I'll tell you, you're going to be surprised. And if there's one thing I can guarantee is my ability to deliver in terms of creativity and surprising. We've tweeted out a little bit of a riddle, and I'll tell you what, this community has no idea what's coming, and I think it's fantastic, and it gives us a perfect opportunity to catch attention and do something that has a legitimate opportunity to disrupt an industry. And that's where my brain is at. And so those who look at the $10 million price tag on funding an attempt at disrupting a legitimate industry that exists, uh, you know, I I wish them well on whatever they're pursuing because it's a pretty good value proposition if we end up being successful. It's a risk, but there's some real opportunity here. I'm particularly interested why the team is vesting over 2 years as opposed to something a bit longer, like 3 to 4 years, to help ensure product market fit for the ideal protocol usage is found. This is it is vesting and it's not vesting. I mean, this is paying the team for services provided for 2 years, and so it's basically a monthly invoice. That's what the vesting is. We have to sell that, or at least a portion of it, for cash in order to pay payroll. So 2 years. That's because we wanted to set an amount of time that we could measure results in and make sure that we could see whether or not these things were good. When I started this conversation, it's kind of easy to see these things on the high level, long term timelines. And if our job is to attract talent into the hi-fi ecosystem, the we need to create an expectation that people are going to have a job for more than 6 months or a year, and so that's why we need the 2 year timeline. Then on the other end, we need to make sure that we are in a position that in a market pullback that we have sufficient buffer to be able to meet the obligation we're making, and not be panic minting new tokens into existence as we pull back by another 50%. So it's to give a reasonable assurance that we're able to meet the commitments that we're making on our end, because this is a contract that we are entering into, a legal contract with legal consideration between the Hi-Fi DAO and Hi-Fi Labs to fulfill. So that's why 2 years. There's this upper bound and lower bound, and yeah, for certain circumstances we need it to be longer. For other circumstances we need it to be shorter. For what purpose will you operate the company after the token swap? Well, to fulfill the contract, to transition to the DAO, and to pursue the strategy that we've outlined in our recent blog post. If you have not read the blog post, you are working in the dark. Please go and read the last month and a half worth of blog posts, so that you're making an informed decision. There will not be a time limit on swapping tokens. I hope that the token swap will be completed this year. The only reasonable or logical reason for us to delay the token swap is that the quant stamp audits aren't returned. What we're wanting, if we push it back too far, people at the exchanges are going to be taking off time for the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, these holidays that happen in December. And so our hope is to get it in and done before that and give them sufficient time to review everything. So that's why we're pushing this now. I'm seeing a lot of repeat questions here. What would be the opening price of the new token? It should be. I mean, it's a function of whatever the price is at the time that you swap it. It stands to reason that the tokens should be one hundredth of each other. That's the relationship. When can I see the liquid NFT prototype? That is a good question. I'm not committing to certain timelines here. Maybe there's a discussion to be had after the probably nothing announcement, and we can kind of like outline the our roadmap of priorities. And there's also just administrative things that operating the DAO is going to add to the roadmap that are important. We need this isn't my operation anymore. I'm running a service provider for the DAO. So, will Hifi have a token on Binance Smart Chain? There's no plan to, but if token holders wanted it, that's certainly reasonably trivial to do. So, is there any way that the airdrop value is less than the voting value? Certainly. There is an allocation of tokens and part of the new mint as published in the white paper or the light paper. And depending on how many people participate, will decide how much you get. So, the best strategy here is just show up with what tokens you have, with what exposure you already have, and participate. You'll learn something. You'll be a real part of the community, and it will push you outside of your comfort zone to actually, you know, participate in the DAO. This is kind of the first act of the DAO. Okay, so. I believe that covers everything. And in terms of like how I'm not aware of any sort of concerns that I have known of that I haven't addressed here. So if there is something that you feel hasn't sufficiently been covered, make sure you go back and watch this from the beginning. And my hope is that people make an informed decision. I do want to be clear that we've spent time on this proposal. I don't think it succeeds with less resource, and I don't think we need more. I feel this is a pretty reasonable proposal for the ambitions we're setting out for, based on having access to the information of what our burn rate is as a team. We have 12 full-time employees pursuing this. We want to grow the team to 24. Based on market conditions, we try and make commitments to people so that they can expect that their job is protected if they come and join our team. I take that seriously, and is a big part of the reason why we've been able to get as far as we have with what resources we've had. So, welcome to the Hifi DAO. I'm excited to create this with you, to build alongside you, and to participate, and to see many more of you take more active roles in the actual operation of Hifi. This has been a long journey. We've launched 3 or 4 products and pivoted in search of product market fit. This is a genuine attempt at taking on real opportunity, looking into the future. There are certainly risks involved, and so be mindful of that. I'm really appreciative for the community we have and how respectful they've been in our dialogue. And the only thing that will get you in trouble in our community is being toxic. I don't mind some professional criticism, and we will cater to making sure people feel heard. I think this is a healthy dialogue that helps with accountability and transparency. And I hope that we build something much bigger than even the vision that I've outlined as we add to it with your perspectives. So thank you so much. And I look forward to building the future together, and I look forward to sharing one more announcement with you later this week. Probably nothing. We'll see you then.